The top news of the day today, Kamala Harris baited Donald Trump.
This was a very different debate than what we saw just a couple months ago with Joe Biden. Off the bat, Kamala Harris tried to bait Donald Trump.
Everywhere you look, baited this, baited that. Kamala baited Trump. But why is the Democratic Party so proud of their misdirection tactics rather than answering hardline questions such as immigration and out-of-control inflation? Let's dive in. Oh, and don't forget Taylor Swift endorsed Harris, like that means anything at all. So every self-proclaimed expert and fact-checker of the CNN network seems to think that Donald Trump had an awful night and Kamala Harris is going to win. And 9 minutes after the debate concluded, CNN posted on every media station that Trump media stock plummeted after his poor debate. That's over 9 hours before the stock market actually opened, effectively manipulating the stock market for investors of DJT. That is illegal. What they also didn't say is that the entire market plummeted, likely over fears of another 4-year term of this administration. Starbucks did okay because everybody loves Starbucks. And who was in the green from this morning's stock market rally? Well, that would be all of the lithium stocks of America. That would also be the battery suppliers, the defunct Rivians, the Nicolas that were once valued higher than Ford Motor Company, which is now worthless. Hyliion, another company with all these big promises that is now worthless. Plug Power, all these companies that got billions of dollars during the Green Deal scam and walked away with investors' money. Workhorse, worthless. Does this all look familiar? Sunrun, once valued at $20 billion, is now down 80%. The FTC is just not doing their job. And do you see any of this on your favorite media channels? Of course not. Why? Because they control the media. CNN, Daily Beast, HuffPost, MSNBC, ABC News, even some would say Newsweek, Reuters, and BBC all belong on the left-leaning side. How many broadcasters do you recognize on the Republican and Republican-leaning side? Fox. The bottom line is the Democratic Party will stop at nothing to maintain power, even swap candidates at the last moment. You should fear power-hungry administrations.
President Biden did so badly, he was basically forced off the ticket. So how is this debate going to impact the race going forward?
Well, it's a good game plan. Get a left-leaning media station to cover the presidential debate and then go online and manipulate the media. And with $500 million of campaign money, it shouldn't be that hard. Now, how are they when they are outside of the political arena? Well, they seem to be shaking hands and everybody seems to be okay because that's what we should do during a 9/11 commemoration. But behind closed doors, the smear campaign continued, so Donald Trump had to take to his own Fox Media to explain some of the manipulation going on.
They had 100% positive coverage on ABC, and I had 94% negative coverage.
93% negative.
I exaggerate.
Yeah, even though in the crowds of the commemoration, people could be heard screaming for Donald Trump and not for Harris. And then Harris brought up his criminal record, which their administration literally brought on to him.
Economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
But Trump had some zingers of his own.
She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Harris continued on with baseless claims such as billionaires are going to get tax cuts under Trump, which nobody wants to hear.
Cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit.
So where is this coming from? Where's the fact checkers on this? Not in the House, apparently. Now let's fact check Trump.
We've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago.
Kamala seems to think that that's absolutely ludicrous, so we're going to do our own fact-checking. Here's the prices of beef in 2021, not 2020 because it was just different, and I'm giving them a fair chance. So here's the prices, and here's the prices now. Almost $7 a pound. $8 a pound. So we'll just do a little bit of simple math and we'll figure out if the 60, 70, and 80% is correct. So here we go. Well, that's about correct for 60%. Now let's try 397 times 1.7, which would be 70%. That's right around the same range still. And also times 1.8. Okay, so we get it. So the food prices have gone up a lot more than they say. So let's move on to abortion, because that's what everybody wants to talk
Now,
about.
I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald
Seems
Reagan
pretty
did
straightforward
also.
to me.
You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her
Why-
that question?
why don't you
That's
answer
the
the
problem.
question, would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question,
you
would you
could
veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month.
Now, I understand this is a very touchy subject, and for me personally and my family, we are all pro-life because it takes 2 people to make a child, and there are 3 lives involved, and people need to stand up for those who don't have voices. I have close friends that are pro-choice, and that's okay too. We all have a choice of our opinions and a choice of our votes, and that's what makes America such a great nation. We need to keep the democracy in America by upholding transparency in our laws, media, and funding. And I believe that our current administration is not doing that. Thank you for your time, YouTube.